Hi, I'm Mina from Foundation, and I'm going to basically present our film's short abstract. The title is Am I a Part of You slash Are You a Part of Me? This is a poetic conversation exploring an idea of nature as reflected through our psyches. The short film attempts to travel beyond the defined by searching for a more personal experience of nature. The reversal of question and answer between students of Foundation framed the spirit of the making. Enjoy.
What things they're not just there's like a play or and they might assume nature is a higher being just as protected.
And it's kind of childish
Because nature can't take from us, but we just
I experience nature like the most when I'm like in direct contact with it, like when I'm just like submerged like in it or really surrounded by it.
Nature as a concept, it won't die. Nature go through a cycle just like seasons. You got every year you got 4 seasons. It's a rotation of different experience can still be part of nature after we are dead.
What do you think is the trait that separates humans and nature?
nature is actually more resilient because it can get through certain experiences where humans, I think we just collapse.
But I feel like if I'm nature, I would really admire this trait in human of how they constantly want to evolve.
How has nature left a physical mark on you?
Me and my grandpa used to go blackcurrant picking, and we just eat it when we're there, so we'd have like stains all over our mouth, fingers, and that's just like a memory I have.
Scuba diving in the middle of the night, a whole different experience, like being just in the middle of the ocean and like you flush the water and like there's these tiny animals that start to sparkle, just surrounded by nature and feeling so deep inside you.
To plant trees in the middle of nowhere to stop desertification or deforestation. We do that in China actually. We spend a ton of money planting trees in the middle of nowhere.
So last year there was an earthquake and half of my country was like gone. So the buildings were gone, there were homes that were destroyed.
There is currently like a large island full of plastic bottles and stuff like that drifting in the middle of the ocean.
How would you describe the word extreme in relation to nature?
Extreme weather could be something that is limiting and blocking. So it kind of depends on how I'm really placing myself in the environment. We can like actually feel what nature is telling us to do.
Do you think nature has tried to tell us something in recent years?
Obviously, yes, because so many natural disasters are happening right now. It's a kind of a warning for people to stop what they're doing.
Like we objectify nature a lot more and treat nature as a source of material we can use for our own survival.
So we just take and we don't give back.
We do exploit nature to the point of, we have exploited nature to the point of no return.
When I was young, I was involved in a flood in Scotland. And I think it is a form of punishment because there was no reason for the flood to occur.
I don't think natural disaster is a way that nature used to punish human. I feel like it's a way of resetting itself.
In what ways is nature admired?
We admire nature because it adapts to any environment. Nature can adapt to any season and any time.
If I have spare time, I would just walk slowly and take in everything around me, smells, visual, the texture of the ground beneath my feet. I would just stop, close my eyes, and take everything in.
If Mother Earth was a person, how do you think she would respond?
She's gonna be a strict mother and kick our asses.
The problems are building up now just because we ignored the problems in the past.
The icebergs are melting way faster than I'm faster than.
There's like a play or
They might assume nature is a higher being just as protected.
And it's kind of childish
because nature can't take from us.
And we have a minute or two for anyone like to comment or ask a question.
I think it's really interesting. I think it's not something that everyone else has been talking about, is the kind of connection between ourselves, our environments, the kind of extreme weather events that are happening. And so I think it's really nice to have that kind of put together as a piece of like, that's the consequence of inaction. And so I think that's really nice. Anyone else?
Okay, we'll move on. Next presentation, please.
Hi, I'm Elias from Inter 17. A few of us are sitting here in the corner. Our unit is called 3 Estates and 100 Trees, because we're focusing on 3 housing estates in London and looking at how they relate not only to their political and social context, but also their environmental context. This video is us talking at the estates that we're researching in smaller groups and the things that will kind of pop out and most interest us. I'll just play it.
You need to say me start.
It's starting already, so.
In the estate, nature is playing a very crucial role. Not only people living here can use the marshes in order to chill out, connect with nature, but also there are a strong role of trees around the whole estate. The trees, as you can see here, they are not only kind of aesthetic part of the estate, but they are also providing shading. As you can see here, even on a very sunny day, the benches located right there can be shaded and be hidden from radiation. Also, they are creating privacy between 2 housing blocks, so people can feel safe in their own space.
For housing, it's not about how the building is designed. It's more specifically, in my opinion, about how it is designed in its context and where it is situated. So behind us, we have a small communal park, parklet area that bounds estates, bounds a supermarket, cafes, and a bunch of other services that people living in this community can attend to. And this reminds me of the 15-minute city concept, which could help develop communities in a sustainable way, transforming the way people work, travel, associate, socialize, exercise, and carry out their daily activities. This creates a greener, healthier environment to live in and focuses more on sustainability. So I think this concept is a good concept that we should consider in designing estates and buildings in general in the future.
So here we are standing at Clapton Estate. As we can see, we are standing at the backyard of someone's house. So it's quite isolated places where people may not willing to share with others, especially because of some immigration elements and some political reasons that people here is so protected. So for that, we can see such a very long scale table and bench that's wasted because people may not willing to share a table with strangers. So instead of we have such a strong sense of communal spaces, we might divide it and deconstruct this wooden structure into a smaller scale table that can be owned by the household or can be shared by the 1 or 2 households in a very small scale. That's in this place, in this level, people may willing to go outside and meet someone or just a gathering as a family unit. Then may encourage people to go outside, meet spaces, meet people, and let them know each other well.
Building construction leads to increasing carbon emissions resulting largely from the use of machinery, disposal of materials, and production of new materials. These activities have a detrimental impact on not only the surrounding environment, but also the planet. The Aylesbury estate is currently engaged in the demolition and reconstruction of its housing. As the estate was primarily built with bricks and use of stone slabs, concrete panels for its external walls, I wondered if these materials could be reused to reduce the need to produce new ones. In order to accomplish this, the materials should be preserved as much as possible and sorted carefully during demolition. Additionally, waste concrete can often be recycled for road paving and soil compaction to reduce carbon emissions in the long term. To expand on this, reusing construction waste from the demolition process as internal aggregate has the potential to reduce more than 50% of the cost of traditional construction methods.
During heavy rainfall, the poor drainage can lead to water pouring around the building foundation, which might result in structural weakness or cracks. A drainage system is designed to deal with rainwater and serve as runoff by collecting it and diverting it away from the building, thereby protecting the home structure and foundation, also preventing the growth of mold. The system typically consists of a drainage pipe, downspout, and gutter that carry the water to a drainage network or a retention pond. The collect rainwater can serve multiple purposes, such as watering garden, plant and flower, as well as being filtered for domestic use, such as flushing toilet and washing clothes.
It has gone from snowing to heat wave. Climate changes has affected the housing situation over the years, from the age when we all need just a heater at home, to nowadays where we also require an air conditioner or a fan for summer. Simple things that could be done when we're doing housing development is to create low-cost passive cooling system with the use of materials that absorb less heat, and also natural ventilation, perhaps water fountain that is built in the center of a courtyard could help lowering the temperature in general. The courtyard would then become private communal space for the community, like the park we have right now in the Aylesbury estate.
The Aylesbury estate is a massive housing estate in the borough of Southwark and was constructed between 1963 and 77. Built to house upwards of 7,500 people, it features over 2,700 units spread over a large area. The modernist ideal of compacting these dwellings in high-density long blocks to allow significant green spaces in between them is something we're looking to represent through the development of these potato prints.
The Frampton estate has an abundance of green spaces and brick buildings. Using these bricks in the green space to make walkways or informal spaces could be very effective, as most of the green spaces currently are empty.
I imagine the lifted ground floor of Tradescan House could be reused and made into a new community hall of this estate, while it's already next to the Frampton Park Baptist Church, while being in the central part of the site.
This is a green space that's surrounded by buildings that have a good privacy, and it can be turned into a playground or a rest space for the residents living in this area.
There are several yards around the whole estate. Building around the yard got a better distance for the view and sunshine, also the ventilation, especially with the different orientations of the balconies and corridors, could bring the building more comfortable and efficient accessibilities for the living experience.
This is a part of the estate that I find really informative. So the trees by both sides of the road provide shadings and also generate oxygen. They also protect the privacy of the residents and beautify the neighborhood.
Frampton Estate has a lot of courtyards with a lot of green spaces and play areas, which provides better standards of living for everyone.
This is Frampton Park Preschool. This tree in the backyard to provide good shading allows the children to have a cool playground in hot weather, reducing the use of energy to cool down the space.
I think that in the future, through the continuous research and development of the building material and the progress iterations of the construction methods, people have learned about the relationship between climate and housing design. By using more climate-friendly materials, more efficient carbon-less constructions, and more circular home designs will have more positive feedback on the future climate.
To mitigate climate challenges, a good way is to carefully analyze the sun and wind conditions with computer programs and decide the best orientation for housing so that it can provide the most habitable temperature and bring enough natural light to the interior.
To mitigate the climate challenge, we can use the results efficiently by using sustainable material and construction technique. We can reduce resource consumption and waste, thereby promoting a more circular economy.
We can talk later about the 100 trees and the building materials. Okay, but thank you for that good film. Can we move on to the next presentation, please, which I think is that first year? Which is the first non-digital presentation this week.
Hello, everyone. So we are the first year class. We were given a brief where we were meant to rebrief a case study of our choice and design it in the context of the climate emergency today. So we chose the Bagsvier Church. We chose to tackle the roof ceiling system, which consists of aluminum paneling and this concrete curved system. Aluminum, which exudes sulfur hexafluoride, which is the worst of the carbon equivalents. We set to eliminate both of these elements. To replace them, we created this timber. We can see in the model, we've created this timber framing, and we've clad that with a cotton fabric locally sourced in Denmark, as well as the framing, which would be made out of spruce, again, a locally sourced timber. We would use tree sap as an adhesive to stick the fabric onto the timber framing. In doing so, we've managed to reduce the CO2 from a whopping 1.1 million kilograms of CO2 equivalent to 18,000 kilograms of CO2 equivalent, which is a 98% decrease.
Thinking of the church's purpose, we looked also at sound insulation and how it's affected by the changes in materiality. We are using cotton fabric, which is great because the fibers absorb the sound and create, scatter the sound around the building, serving for echo reduction and reverbing and enhancing quality of sound. And we also had a look at heat insulation, choosing to use sheep wool, which absorbs atmospherical humidity and converts it to heat by releasing it during the warmer seasons.
Looking into end-of-life carbon emissions, we created the curved ceiling in a way that it could be dismantled and reused for another structure to be built, thank you, if the church would potentially be demolished in the future. So we invite you guys to explore the repurposing and of the building with the assembled pieces. This is assembled pieces of this one.
Thank you.
Here's, sorry, no. Okay, you can have some if you want.
Okay, thank you very much. You want us to come and look at it?
We would love to. If you guys can come closer and oh, okay. All right. Thank you. Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Our building, the Glass Pavilion, was by Bruno Taut, was built in 1914, and it was designed and built in the same year for the Cologne Deutscher Werkbund exhibition, and it was built during the summer. The pavilion was used as a seasonal exhibition and was inspired by the Expressionist movement at the time. It utilizes the use of different types of glass and light to orchestrate human emotions at the time. And the main idea of our proposal was to make a deconstructed building that can be constructed back every year at the same season, which we chose was to be summer.
We were inspired by Karen Malik's On Zero Carbon, and we looked at how we could reduce the carbon emissions through our building by not destroying it, but updating it. We looked at adjusting this problem through various different materials that would capture carbon in it and use materials like glass and reducing reinforced concrete to use timbercrete, which consisted of material use of timber and laminated timber frames.
And from our research on the climate of Cologne, the highest average temperature that we found was 23 degrees. And because we wanted to build this pavilion in summer specifically, we chose to have operate a ventilation system that would help the public inside for better ventilation. And so ideas range from having a pivot to having a vent cap at the top.
We were also really inspired by the idea of researching environmental hazards after the climate emergency talk. And we found the information that in Cologne, the part of Germany, there was a massive flooding in 2021, which almost resulted in 160 deaths of people. And the glass pavilion is actually only 200 meters away from the river where the flooding happened. So this is the river, and this is how much the flooding covered. And it gave us the idea of actually putting the glass pavilion on the stalls and resulting in less pressure affecting the building because the water would flow through the stalls. And we also use timbercrete just for the more sustainable purpose. It reduces less carbon emissions. Yeah, thank you.
We explored our model through general model building and see how the environment would interact with it, and looking at the sun path over here. Thank you.
For our project, we looked at the impact that the combination of sea level rise and more extreme seasonal flooding in Venice will have on the building that we chose, which is the Church of San Giorgio Maggiore by Palladio. We started with the premise that the Mose floodgates, which currently protect Venice from high tides, won't be usable anymore within the next 50 years due to the increased sea level. And because of that, unless the lagoon is completely cut off from the sea, water will have to become part of everyday life in Venice. Based also on the idea that every generation has to build their own city from the first lecture of this week, we tried to propose 3 iterations that questioned our role of whether we should preserve what was there or rework it into something new. And for that, what we came up with was iterations that could be adapted to future situations, also due to the difficulty of predicting such a drastic change accurately, and that wouldn't touch the church itself, to be respectful of what was already there.
So we basically decided to engage with different types of research and data. We were able to find a whole photogrammetry of the whole building and islands. We decided to use this information combined with the sinking points in Venice and also the prediction of the extreme tides coming in the next 100 years in order to create some speculative, first of all, iterations. First of all, here graphically, and then by the creation with AI of different scenarios in 2070 and 2100 based on the main information that we got from Gianpietro Zucchetta, an engineer of the Mose. We also decided to study the soils of Venice in order to use these specific materials and create a hyperlocal process in order to create our iterations later.
So based on the collected data, 3 iterations propose the possibilities of preserving yet accommodating the severe condition while achieving low carbon emission by using local materials, which is limestone and wood.
So the first iteration was inspired by the passerelli used during high tides in Venice and proposes a structure in the ubiquitous Istrian limestone, chosen for its impermeability and resistance to the Venetian water. The iteration creates a dialogue between the water allowed inside the basilica and the inherent spirituality of the space. The double walkway inside mirrors the pews of the traditional church and respects the established hierarchies in relation to the altar.
The second iteration uses a system of floating platforms, which are direct copies of the rafts that used to be used until about 100 years ago to float timber down from the mountains along the river systems into Venice. And putting multiple of these together, we made a system that was anchored by the pillars of the church and would float up and down with the tides in order to allow accessibility to a space, even if it was flooded. And the shape allows it to be mirrored outside so that the square, which will be inaccessible to people, will become a docking station for boats, allowing the space to be used in a new way and with local and carbon neutral materials.
Like the previous iterations, this one isolates and preserves the existing spiritual space by diverting the water with limestone walls. A tall wall at the entrance creates a spiritual separation between outdoor and indoor, which is its very purpose to respect the basilica's religious experience in extreme conditions.
Obviously, this is an ongoing project, like any AA project. So we're planning to go to Venice next week and potentially engage even more with these locals and create more of a spatial experience and potentially map the island.
Thanks very much.
We have a few minutes for people to look at the drawings, and I seem to remember is it 100 students in first year? 102. So we're looking forward to the 102 person long drawing. Do you do? Yeah, I'm sure you do. Yeah. Okay. I'm amazed and really encouraged by the sensitivity and intelligence of what you're doing. And I think what you'd share a little bit with into 17 is a kind of optimism that you can do something and you can design directly and fairly quickly. So, well done. Anyone like to comment?
I just wanted to congratulate you on it. I think sometimes it can be a bit terrifying to deal with reality, but you were like, no, sea levels are going to come up. This is a new reality. My site in Cologne might flood. It's a reality. These materials have large emissions. That's a reality. And I think you weren't afraid to deal with that, engage with it as and explore it creatively, which I think was great. And then also your use of numbers, experimenting with the numbers. It's uncomfortable, but I think you guys did a really good job of exploring that. And I think that's also to be commended.
I'd also say congratulations. It's fantastic. I'd like to add, I like the way you dealt with the ritualistic threshold from something that was quite practically dealt with, but actually you remembered the architectural content. Well done.
They're going to be true believers, aren't they? What? They're going to be true believers that architects can make a difference. Yeah. Well done. Thank you.